Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating with Franz. This is Franz Sidney today with a very, very famous musician and educator, and his name is Hayes Greenfield. Did I say this correctly? Tell me this.
Oh, yes, you said it beautifully.
Oh, good. So, who are you, and why is it important to listen to your message today?
Okay, well, I'm a jazz musician and an educator, and I think it's important to listen because I work with sound, and sound is the world is sound asleep, unfortunately. And sound is something that we all love to make, we all love to do, we all love to listen, and it's an incredible tool for early childhood, or well, all grades really. Seniors with memory loss and dementia and Alzheimer's, and um, neurodiverse people of all ages.
That is a great introduction, and I'm thankful that you're here. I know you're a very busy person. So, today we want to really talk about how we can overcome our modern disconnect from deep listening by using the very transformative power of sound. So, we can rewire our brains, rebuild genuine human connection, human to human, not human to AI, just to make sure. And I would love to start with one question because, guys, sound is more important than we realize. It really helps us, even when we are in the womb. It's the sound of a heart beating that calms us down. So the music that we hear when we are in the womb is remembered. The voice of our parents, we remember, we recognize. So we are meant to have sound. The majority of the people are not deaf. So sound is there for a reason. And it creates danger or calm or happiness. But in the modern world, Hayes, we have a lot of sound, we have a lot of noise. It's noise in lots of levels, and it's very difficult to actually listen. And it's very easy to switch off. So you're like a neuro artisan because you are creating something very tactile that we can really touch because sound is it's got vibrations as well, especially with your amazing instruments. And maybe you want to talk about that. So we have to move this disconnect to this intentional sound and go to impact the development of our cognitive function and to improve the connection with one another. And you know how to do this. In fact, that is seems to be part of your mission, especially in the latest years, with all your educational journey. So tell me a little bit more on how do you see the disconnect and how you're going to bridge that gap. And I'm all here listening to you, the expert.
Okay, so first of all, Franz, thank you for having me here. I want to say it's really a pleasure to speak with you and your audience. And you mentioned just a whole bunch of stuff, which is really beautiful. And I might bounce around. Okay, so I hope that's going to be okay. So let's first look at sound in pre-K and why it's important. Um, and then you also mentioned music in terms of the sound that when we're in the womb, those sounds that we hear. And so you're already calling that music. But something that I want to preface for anybody out there who's not a musician, we all, music is probably the closest thing to magic because we can put on a record and it can rev us up to go clean up our room or clean up the house. We listen to music when we're in social situations and religious situations. And music is extremely powerful and important. But for all of you people out there who may not be musicians and listening, and play an instrument, oftentimes it's music becomes this. You hear sound and somebody's talking about it, and they'll say, "Well, you mean music?" And it's something that a lot of people don't feel that they can do well, or they don't feel that they can do at all because it's regarded as a and it's a language, it's a skill, and it's something that we spend hours and years learning to master and play and communicate with. But sound is something different. Sound comes before music. Sound is the basic elements of sound are pitch, volume, and duration. So, Franz, can you give me a high pitch sound?
I mean, if I go down and get my keyboard out.
No, 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 no. I'm talking about just make a high pitched sound.
Oh, I personally,
Yeah, just make a high sound. Hi, beep, beep.
that's the highest
Great.
sound.
Okay, and birds make high sounds,
Yes.
right? So you could go cheep, 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 cheep. Go ahead, go cheep, 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 cheep.
I can do even better. I can do
Beautiful. Okay, now can you make a low sound like a lion?
a low sound like a lion. I haven't ever heard a lion. So, okay, do
Okay,
you have
well,
any?
how about a how about a low dog, like a German Shepherd's bark?
Huh? Is it?
Okay, great. Okay, so that's high and low. Exactly. So you just laughed. That was kind of a high laugh, right?
Oh, yeah.
So okay, so now let's think, make. Can you make a very short sound?
Short sounds like doop,
Beautiful. Now make a long sound.
la. Now people will just get off.
Excellent. No, no, that's good because this is. And now make a very loud sound.
Ah!
And now make it very quiet.
Hello, everyone. Are you still there?
Okay, beautiful. So this is all that we're concerned with. So anybody out there who thinks that what I'm talking about is music is not. It's about sound. It's about the basic elements of sound. High like a bird, low like a dog. Roof, roof. Long, short, loud, and quiet. And children love to make sound by themselves in groups when they're walking around. They're just, these kids are always making sound. And as soon as we start to engage children with making an intentional sound in a deliberate way, what you mentioned earlier, you use the word intention. As soon as that happens, we start to engage our executive function skills, inhibitory control, which is learning is listening before speaking. It's not is being in the moment, not going on automatic pilot, able to follow through with a task. Working memory, which is all the different ways that you can make a sound or it's following directions, and cognitive flexibility about being able to make all the sounds in different ways, quiet, loud, long, short, high, and low. And when we do that, when children do that and start to really begin to develop their executive function skills, we know that, and this is my mentor, Adele Diamond, her work over the last 35 years has demonstrated that children who have enhanced executive function skills or abilities do better in school and go on to finish college and become part of the society and get a job and, you know, collaborate and everything else. And we all know many, 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 many people who have been blessed with incredible gifts, but they, for one reason or not, have not necessarily realized them because maybe they didn't have enough inhibitory control. You know, maybe they weren't flexible enough to take advantage of serendipity. So executive function skills are extremely important to learn. And when we start to engage children with making all kinds of sounds, first of all, teachers who are they're giving opportunity and license to children to do this stuff and to make sounds in all different kinds of ways that inspires children to begin to take agency and be independent and integrate with each other and collaborate and become ensemble members. And it's social. It engages their social emotional learning as well, and their mindfulness. So it becomes a complete kind of like ecosystem. For example, teachers in pre-K count their kids all the time, all day long. They have to count their kids, and 99% of them do it in their head. But if they start to engage with children and go 1, 2, 3, 4 as they're lining up, and every one goes low, one goes high, one goes low. All of a sudden, the kids start to do this. They start to see that this is happening, and then all of a sudden, they start to take agency, and they start to do it themselves, which enables a teacher. They don't have to manage that anymore. They can just be listening. And as they hear it and they become accustomed to the different voices that we all do, we learn our children's voices, we learn we learn the textures, our voices have our own imprint. So all of a sudden that helps teachers manage their kids. And the next step of that is what is the most challenging time of the day that every young child has difficulty with?
I wonder about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry?
I wonder what that could be because it depends on the child. If he's full of energy and you put him in a class to sit down for 8 hours in the early morning, that could be challenge. But other people
Okay.
get challenged later after sitting being bored for 8 hours. So it depends really on child personality. And I'm talking here as a teacher.
Okay. So what I've noticed and what I've talked to many teachers about and what I've talked to many directors about is that several pre-K directors have told me that when children are able to successfully navigate transition times, they're ready for school. Transition times occur all day long, correct? I mean, a transition is you're dropping your kid off at school, they're going in there, they go there, they take off their coat, they sit down. 20 minutes later, they have moved to another part of the room. That's a transition time. They're going to go outside, they're going to put their coats on, they're going to get ready to do that. That's another transition. They're cleaning up after they've done art class or whatever it is. Another transition. And a lot of teachers, and I've known this from experience, that transition times are very difficult and challenging times. And I'll tell you about something that, I teach. So one of the things out there people should know is that I teach Head Start. And I work with the National Head Start Association. And I have a course, part of a course online, and I teach this through Zoom like this, and I teach different teachers all over the country. And I've been partnering with them for about 5 years. And so I was teaching recently in March, and I had a teacher come in. It was our last class. We did 3 or 4 classes, and she wanted to share an experience that she had with this little girl, which was a transition. And it's so simple and so poignant. So because she had been doing the class, I taught her once a week for 3 weeks, she was thinking about how she can integrate, how she can work with sound. So she was called out in the morning because there was a little girl who was dropped off by her father and didn't want to go to school, wanted to stay with her dad, and was crying and was really having a problem. And she was asked to take the child, help her to her classroom. So she did. She took her hand and she started walking down the hall, and the kid's weeping and keeps turning around looking at her dad and doesn't want to leave him. And said 3 years old, so we understand that. So the teacher thought, I wanna communicate, but I don't want to talk with words. I wanna do something different. So how can I do this with sound? And she made a clucking sound. Can you make a clucking sound?
Yes, because I love horses. Is it cluck, cluck? Or is it...
Yeah. Okay, do it again. Beautiful.
Am I good at
So
it?
she started, yeah, beautiful. So she started clucking, and the little girl started clucking to her. So they started having a conversation with the clucking sound. And then all of a sudden, somebody else came down and was walking by and saw this and threw in a cluck as well. So now we have this little girl, which totally like shocked the little girl. And I'm watching this teacher explain this, and she's just like, can't believe this is going on. By the time she gets this little girl down to the classroom, she's no longer crying. She's into making sound. She's clucking. She's had this whole experience with with this teacher, and she's ready to learn. She's ready to join the class. All simply so profoundly done because this teacher who wanted to have a conversation with her but felt that words would just be part of the trauma, right? It wouldn't take the girl out of her trauma. She would be there in her trauma, but the sound took her out. And all of a sudden, that transition time, all of which took, if you think about it, really just that from that first sound, which is all of a second, to get her attention, all of a sudden, she's now ready. She's now engaged. She's looking forward to meeting her pals. It's like all because of just doing what? Being heard and having a conversation and making a simple sound.
Incredible. It's a lovely pattern interrupt. You're stuck in this cycle. I cry, so now my parents are going to pick me up. So the teacher is going to tell me off. And now this teacher is actually doing something else. I actually find it really fun because adults tend to be very restricted and they are very worried about making embarrassing sounds where children are not. So when you go down to their level, I feel like, hey, we can do something.
Or
And
up to their level. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
amazing.
Or up to their level.
Right,
Up
right.
to their
Hey,
level.
I know
Not down
you.
to their level. Up to their level. Now, Franz, excuse me for interrupting you, but
No, no, that's fine.
that's a critical, because that's like, like, yes, they're the children, for all the teachers out here and all the people out here, and also making vocal sounds is very challenging. It's a lot easier to clap your hands or, tap something or whatever, than it is to go make a vocal sound. But children, it doesn't matter what they're just having a ball doing it.
That's
So
me.
no judgments. So they're on a higher level. They don't have they don't have that frontal lobe that's filled with all the mishigas
Yeah.
and the stuff that we as adults think, all those negative thoughts.
But we
They're like,
develop.
nah,
We develop those
yeah.
roles as adults. Feel like this is not correct because we get told off by the parents. You have to be quiet. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's embarrassing. Then we get to school. We have to be quiet or be told off. Remember, up to a very few years ago, at least in Europe, I remember they had some rulers and they would hit you on the fingers if you were making sounds, and you get told off for any sound. Like in England, you get into what's it called? I can't remember the name, but they put an exclusion out of a class for like 15 minutes or an hour if you make sounds during
Mm.
the lesson. So it is punished, and therefore we grew up restricted, and that's why we just
Well, that's
it's not
why,
it's normal anymore, isn't it?
right, exactly, and that's why we're making intentional sounds, because we're making intentional sounds in deliberate ways. And when you start to do that, when you start to think in those terms, a whole world can open up. And for teachers that, they hate transition times. And they think, oh, I have to have so much stuff and transitions, and it's like herding cats and all of blah, blah, blah. That's what, when I say the world is sound asleep, and you should mention, I have this book, my book, Creative Sound Play. I don't know if it's not going to be able to be, oh, wow, well, I can do it
Well,
if I,
try to put it in front of your head so the camera thinks that's still you, just in the center. Let's see. Try to talk so we'll focus on you.
can you see that? Can you see it?
Perfect.
Oh my goodness, it's working, right? Oh my goodness, you are a genius.
I'm a photographer.
You are, look at that. You are a genius. Did you see was the spelling
Yeah, the
correct?
camera has to know where to focus. So if you put the object, the camera is
Oh,
focusing on you, I got the camera there. So if
so
I
all
put
I have to
something
do
in
is
front
go
of you,
like, All I have to do is do this, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah,
Oh my goodness, you are. Oh, Franz, you taught me something. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. And I'm able to actually solve the problem with transition very easily. Just use a European system where instead of having 20 comfortable teachers that stay in the same place and the 1,000 very uncomfortable, stressed out kids, do what we do in Europe. Keep the kids where they are and move with 20 lazy teachers. So they walk and the children don't have to waste their valuable time running like crazy to huge buildings where they don't know where things are and then they get told off for arriving late or for going to the toilet. And I know for experience because I see my daughter when she went to high school here, she was stressed like crazy because she didn't know this place and she had to run to the class and 30 seconds later you get a note, you get a problem there. That's stressful. Why did you guys make
Yeah,
it this? The teachers can move, they
yeah,
can move.
well, yeah. Wow. Hmm.
Unless it's a science class where you have to have certain things. I understand the art one because there are all these materials, but still, it can be done. And all
Yeah.
this time you're spending running like crazy, and the run like a herd of bisons. You know, if you it's like the Lion King when they kill, when the is it the father of Simba that dies, and there's all
I
this.
didn't see it. I don't know. I didn't
Ah,
see
too
it.
bad. So Simba is a lion, and his father is there, and he falls off. And Simba goes down from a valley and sees this from 1993, I think, and sees this herd of I don't know buffaloes over there, and they're going very fast, and you cannot stop them. And when I went to high school to get my daughter out, I arrived during transition time, and they were students just going really fast. And I'm a little mosquito-sized Italian British person, and they just almost run over me. I thought I'm in danger of my life here. So I thought, why do you guys have to run so much? Even when we watch the movie, the telefilms about high schools, and we hear the bell rings, and immediately everyone is out. I'm like, wow, they were really bored. They run out of a class. And then I realized
Wow.
they have to run because they have to run to the
Yeah, to
opposite
get to the
side.
next one. Yeah.
And just
Wow.
imagine the level of cortisol of these children. They have to run like crazy in a place they don't even know what it is. What if they're
That's
hard
right.
of
And
hearing? What if they can't go home?
exactly. And then so imagine them having have to go into the next class and then calm down to be ready to learn. That's really
Yeah.
frustrating. I mean, that's how it was when I was in high school.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you do pacing. So in NLP, neuro linguistic programming, we teach that, and we say if a person is like woo 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 like that, you can't go there tom tom. You have to start with a frequency, and then you slow it down, and you
Do,
can do
do,
that
do,
with
do, do,
sound.
do, do,
You go
do,
for
do, do, yeah.
and you take them down with you. But if you come really, really slow and they're really fast, there is like a clash. So the students, I think, will react really well to sound, especially funny sounds. You know what I mean? Because it's
Absolutely.
interesting, it's different, and the cortisol cannot go high anymore because now there is a distraction. And you know how you stop panic attacks and anxiety attacks? With distraction, being tactile, understanding sounds, color, and textures around you. So yeah, exactly that. Yeah, can you do a kitten, for example, and still have a
Meow,
child crying?
meow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
I know. I
difficult.
hear that.
You go to a child and go meow, and he's like, "Where is the cat?" And you go, "I got something here."
Well, that's so you totally understand what I'm talking about, and that has nothing to do with music. It has to do strictly with sound, and anybody can do it. So it's like, it's like common sense.
Mhm.
I mean, it's really so. In my other life, I used to do, or before this, I used to do a whole lot of. I have a live interactive children's jazz show that I would do in schools, and I did it all over the country. I went to Europe a few times, and I get kids scatting and bebopping and dancing and playing with the band, and all ages. And then it was through that actually I started working with neurodiverse kids, and I realized through that experience how sound truly was so profound, because I had kids who spoke, these kids at a high school one kid who had nobody had ever heard him speak. He'd been going there for a couple of years, and I was conducting everybody, playing little flutophones. And a flutophone is like a recorder, but it's conical shape and it's not as harsh and it's not loud and it's gentler, so it's great for autistic kids. And this kid was, he was considered nonverbal, but made all different kinds of sounds. He was very loud and very disruptive and adorable and really just a beautiful, beautiful, loving soul. And had no inhibitory control. And I got him I was conducting everybody, and I looked at him. I said, "Listen, Marcos, I'm going to have you be the soloist now, which means that's a very important role. But you have to sit quietly. You can't play your instrument until I point at you." And he understood words, but never spoke. And he said, "Okay, I said, "You can do that, right?" And he was like, so I conducted everybody, and he was like really trying hard not to make a sound and just squeezing it. I thought he was going to break it, and I kept him like that for about maybe a minute or two. It was like it was painful for everybody to watch him actually be silent. And then I pointed to him and I pointed him to jump up, and he jumped up and he blew. He blew man the roof off, and it was amazing. And then when I pointed him to sit down, he sat down and got right down. And at the end, we finished the piece, and I had everybody clap for Marcos, because he did a beautiful job. I said he was quiet, he followed the rules, he followed the order, and he jumped up when I asked him to, and he played amazingly. And then when I said to point down, he went right down. And I said, everybody applaud, and really, Marcos, beautiful. And then I said, who wants to conduct? And his hand shot up before anybody's, and he said, I do. I want to conduct. And nobody had ever heard him speak. And I had teachers who came up with crying, saying, how did you get him to do this? And I said, I don't know. I just asked him who wanted to conduct. And he wanted to conduct. So it's about sound. When I say the world is sound asleep, it is so sadly sound asleep. So we have to gently wake it up.
Gently wake up so we can shout to the world. And in those last 6 minutes that we have, 5 minutes 51, do you have any tips how we can incorporate sound in our life to build this kinder world, this meaningful world where we can have creative sound exercises so we can transform our boring moments into a real experience, an authentic experience, so we can improve, so we can feel happier? And it's all yours now. 5 minutes.
Okay, yes. What everybody can do to begin with is take a moment, because this is what I do with teachers and their students, is to take a moment to just listen. Just listen to the sounds around you. And then discuss what the sounds are. And hear them and listen to them. Are they high? Are they low? Remember, it gets back to the three basic elements of sound. Are they high? Are they low? Are they long? Are they short? Are they loud? Or are they quiet? Pitch, volume, and duration. And then have a conversation with someone that you have to trust and you have to like. And don't use words. Use sounds. Bleep, blah. And there's a whole emotional content. For example, when you hear somebody on the phone, a loved one, you don't have to hear a word to know how they feel. All you have to do is hear how they breathe. And you'll know that if they're happy or they're depressed or sad or whatever. The tone of just the inflection. It doesn't have to be a whole word, it's the inflection. So you have to think about your intuition. You have to listen to what your intuition is telling you and let it have space. Okay? Because it's so much quicker than intellect. our intuition, what we hear, how we respond. And, for example, if you go into a room and you start to feel uncomfortable, think about what's the sound that you're hearing. Is it loud? Are you being bombarded? If you're walking down the street, I'm walking down the street with my wife many times, and there'll be somebody on their phone behind us very loud, or talking to somebody very loud. And we start getting tense, and we just let them walk in front of us. And as they walk by and they farther down, then we go back to being relaxed. So sound, make different kinds of sounds, enjoy making sounds, listen to each other, have a communication. And everybody on any level, on any age, can benefit from making sound, especially people with dementia and people with Alzheimer's or memory loss who begin to shut down. And we know that music, and this is where music plays a role, we know that music is the last thing we lose. So engage with making a long sound or a short sound, a loud sound. And it doesn't matter if you're singing in tune or not in tune. You know, so many people, so many people feel they don't clap. They can't keep rhythm. I have so many people who tell me they can't clap in time. And that's because so many of them are so worried that they're going to mess up the beat, that it's going to lead to them messing up the beat because they're not listening to the silence in between the beats. And they forget it's not so much that you're playing the note, it's about the silence. Silence defines the area around the sound. And that space is what gives the sound its meaning. It's so much more, sometimes it's so much more important. So, Franz, I know that we're coming down to the wire, and I want to thank you. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. I think I've done way too much talking, though. I
No,
would have. Okay, well, the very
that
anyway.
was
It was
good.
you.
That was good.
Okay, well, you're beautiful, and I so appreciate you wanting to do this with me.
Thank you so much. And I hope you guys listening to Hayes Greenfield today really got the idea of what is this sound of silence as well, how important the sonic environment is, and make an effort to bring this into your life so you can be happier and create the life that you want. Thank you, Hayes. See you all next week.
Thank you, Franz.
Bye bye.